Chapter 581. The Origin Sea of the Ancient Continent. The sacrificial text had been burnt, marking the completion of the heaven sacrificial ceremony. Now, all that remained was a period of quiet waiting. If the world consciousness of the ancient continent deemed Lin Fei worthy of representing the entire ancient continent, there would undoubtedly be some form of response. Time passed slowly. A quarter of an hour had elapsed since the sacrificial text was consumed by flames. However, there seemed to be no response as of yet. Lin Fei had meticulously inscribed his request onto the sacrificial text, believing that the world consciousness of the ancient continent was aware of his appeal. But whether the ancient continent's world consciousness would grant his request was uncertain. Even true immortals and martial ancestors couldn't predict the consciousness of an entire world. Lin Fei remained patient. He had faith in the notion that the world had its own spirit, and he trusted the words of Great Dream Ancestor and Unity True Immortal. Finally, an hour had passed. Suddenly, the entire world began to tremble. Simultaneously, above Lin Fei's head, a colossal vortex with the characters appeared faintly in the void. It was a spatial vortex, and nobody else could sense it, but Lin Fei felt it distinctly. This was a sea of origin, an immensely vast sea of origin, perhaps only slightly smaller than the divine realms. However, apart from the divine realm, Lin Fei hadn't encountered a larger sea of origin. Although it had some differences compared to the divine realm's sea of origin, those differences were minor, primarily in scale. In essence, they were virtually identical. Lin Fei suddenly realized this in his heart. Perhaps this is the reason why the ancient continent was capable of giving birth to true immortals and martial ancestors, Lin Fei mused. The power of the origin here is not much different from the divine realm. Could it be that the true immortal realm is the same? At that moment, Lin Fei seemed to grasp the significance of the true immortal realm. However, despite its power, the true immortal realm could only give birth to true immortals and martial ancestors, not supreme beings. Only the divine realm had the capability to birth supreme beings. Yet, the true nature and levels of supreme beings remained a mystery to Lin Fei. As the massive spatial vortex appeared, a beam of white light shot out from it. Although it was just a plain white light, Lin Fei felt the presence of the laws emanating from it, the essence of the world's laws. In the next instant, Lin Fei found himself enveloped in the white light. His figure flickered, and both the white light and Lin Fei disappeared. A commotion erupted within the Eternal Life Alliance. People were baffled and worried about Lin Fei's sudden disappearance. What's happening? Where's Leader Lin? Isn't our leader a true monarch? How could he vanish like this? Could something have gone wrong with the heaven sacrificial ceremony? What could possibly go wrong with the ceremony? Look at our elders, they seem surprisingly calm. It's unlikely anything serious has occurred. Many discussions were taking place, and everyone was astonished by Lin Fei's inexplicable disappearance. Upon seeing Lin Fei vanish, Fen Ling felt a jolt of surprise but remained composed outwardly. She understood that this was not the time to panic, she needed to stay calm. Shortly after, she received a transmission from the Phoenix. Fen Ling, don't worry. True Monarch Lin has likely been transported to some other place by the world consciousness of the ancient continent. With true Monarch Lin's strength, there's no force within the ancient continent that can harm him. I believe it won't be long before he returns. Hearing the transmission from the Phoenix, Feng Ling relaxed slightly and spoke slowly. Lin Fei has gone to a place to comprehend the Tao. He won't be gone for long. The ceremony has already concluded. Everyone should disperse for now. Feng Ling took charge and declared the conclusion of the Eternal Life Alliance's ceremony. However, not everyone was convinced by her explanation, and there were still some lingering doubts. Yet, with the Phoenix and numerous god-level powerhouses of the Eternal Life Alliance present, they dared not voice their concerns. Meanwhile, in a mysterious space, Lin Fei suddenly raised his head in surprise. Is this within the laws of the ancient continent? He wondered aloud. He could see countless intricate laws here, and these laws were incredibly familiar to him because they were the very same world laws that he had been comprehending all along. Could it be that the ancient continent has brought me into the world laws? Lin Fei pondered. No, this is not just the world laws. Could it be within the world's Tao? He considered the possibility that he had entered the realm of the world's Tao. Although Lin Fei had been comprehending the world's Tao for some time, he had never truly encountered it. Now it appeared before him, even though it was a true monarch-level world's Tao. However, it was no different from the world's Tao of the divine realm. World's Tao, world laws. Lin Fei realized that this was the reward from the ancient continent in response to his prayers during the ceremony. He had asked to comprehend the world's Tao, and the world consciousness of the ancient continent had seemingly transported him into the realm of the world's Tao. Such treatment was something Lin Fei had never heard of in the divine realm, and it was a rare opportunity. If he could seize this chance, it might greatly enhance his chances of becoming a martial ancestor. "Let me see what the world's Tao is truly like," Lin Fei said as he began to extend his consciousness. He quickly enveloped the special space he was in, filled with countless intricate world laws that seemed endless. However, these world laws appeared to be like branches attached to a great tree. That great tree was the world's Tao itself. Lin Fei witnessed a truly astonishing sight. The world's Tao resembled a massive tree spanning the unknown void, and from this tree, countless branches extended, radiating throughout the world. These branches represented the world's laws. The world's Tao, the great tree, seemed to draw various energies from the void, maintaining its existence. "I see now, the world's Tao serves as the cornerstone of the entire world," Lin Fei realized. "It's like a colossal tree. As long as this tree, the world's Tao, exists, the world won't collapse and will flourish. The branches of the world's Tao are the countless world laws, distributed throughout the world, sustaining its operation." He contemplated, "So, if I want to master the complete world's Tao, what should I do?" Lin Fei was deep in thought. Every martial ancestor needed to master a complete Tao to have a chance at becoming a martial ancestor. Regardless of how profound their understanding of the laws was, it was useless without a complete Tao. He had touched the world's Tao and understood the relationship between the world's Tao and the world's laws. But how could he master the world's Tao himself? "I need to master my unique world's Tao," Lin Fei thought. "Not the ancient continent's world's Tao, nor the divine realms. Only by mastering my personal world's Tao can I become a martial ancestor. But how do I go about mastering my own world's Tao?" Lin Fei was lost in thought, and in his mind, sparks of inspiration collided. This state was often referred to as enlightenment or sudden realization. Chapter 582. Mastery of the world's Tao. Lin Fei was unaware of it, but at this moment, on his system panel, the numerical indicator for his progress along the world's Tao was undergoing constant change. Furthermore, within Lin Fei's mind, the resounding voice of the system echoed melodiously. "Your comprehension of the world's Tao has entered a state of enlightenment. Your advancement along the world's Tao has increased by 1%. Your advancement along the world's Tao has increased by 2%. Your advancement along the world's Tao has increased by 3%. These words continued to flow without interruption. Initially, Lin Fei's progress along the world's Tao had already reached an impressive 73%. The final 100% seemed within reach. However, after reaching 73%, it appeared to stagnate as if immobilized by an invisible force. Regardless of his efforts, it refused to budge. Nevertheless, the numerical representation was now slowly on the rise. 74%, 75%, 76%, 77%, 78%, 79%, 80%. Each increment was a mere 1%, but as time accumulated, Lin Fei's progress along the world's Tao seemed to know no limits. It continued to rise gradually, even reaching 80%. This was the state of enlightenment, a moment of epiphany. In this state, Lin Fei's understanding of the world's Tao deepened with each passing moment. His mind was constantly illuminated by flashes of insight, thus causing his progress along the world's Tao to slowly ascend. However, Lin Fei remained deeply engrossed in this state of enlightenment, not yet awakening. It was evident that he had encountered certain challenges along the way, challenges that remained unresolved. Consequently, the progress he made along the world's Tao began to slow down. 85%, 90%, 95%. Upon reaching 95%, it appeared as though the world's Tao had come to a standstill. "What am I missing?" Lin Fei pondered, his brow furrowed. He remained deep in contemplation, still caught in his state of enlightenment. Despite the constant flickering of insights, he had yet to grasp a complete path. It seemed that something was amiss within the world's Tao. Lin Fei couldn't quite fathom what he was failing to comprehend fundamentally. As he continued his profound introspection, the missing piece slowly revealed itself. Wait, if I am to master the world's Tao, Lin Fei's thoughts raced, where does the world's Tao originate? Where should I apply the world's Tao and master? Where does my source of power come from? A crucial realization dawned upon him. It was commonly said that a warrior's strength stemmed from within. In the same vein, a martial ancestor who possessed mastery over a complete path undoubtedly wielded unimaginable power. Otherwise, how could one attain the exalted status of a martial ancestor? However, Lin Fei's world's Tao was neither the world's Tao of the divine realm nor the world's Tao of the ancient continent. It was uniquely his own. Therefore, his world's Tao resided within himself. The question remained, where could he find the power to support his ascent to martial ancestor through his own world's Tao? Could it be my physical body? Lin Fei contemplated the potential of his own physical form. His body possessed boundless potential and strength, but how many particle worlds had he managed to create thus far? A mere 5,300 particle worlds. Yet, the number of particles within his physical body exceeded billions. The sheer quantity of particle worlds his body could potentially generate was nearly unimaginable. However, Lin Fei couldn't help but sense that something was awry. He questioned whether he had veered off course. As he accumulated particle worlds within his body, there came a point where his physical form couldn't bear the burden. The particle worlds remained separate entities, distinct from the rest of his body. There was an intrinsic division between particle worlds and other particles within his flesh. In his martial god and true monarch states, this division wasn't a significant concern. However, for Lin Fei to attain the status of a martial ancestor presented a formidable challenge, especially when he aimed to master the world's Tao, a way fundamentally rooted in the concept of the world itself. The world's Tao had the power to create entire worlds, making it the most fundamental aspect of each world it governed. If my physical body could merge into a single entity, Lin Fei pondered, and if all the particles could coalesce into one, then, with the world's Tao as its foundation, I could create a world. This world would consist of a single particle, and once created, all the particles would disappear. Yet, I could fully control this world and even possess a complete world's Tao, uniquely my own. Finally, the revelation struck Lin Fei. In his mind, a spark of insight ignited, unveiling what was missing in his path to attaining martial ancestor status. His world's Tao drew its power from within his own flesh. I see. A slight smile curved on Lin Fei's lips. Without hesitation, he acted upon his newfound realization. Particle worlds, merge, he commanded. A thunderous explosion resonated as Lin Fei's flesh, along with his 5,300 particle worlds, erupted in a spectacular burst. Additionally, billions of individual flesh particles, each carrying the formidable essence of a true monarch, detonated simultaneously. This explosion differed from his previous encounters with adversaries. It was a genuine detonation where all particles merged into a chaotic unity. Countless particles perished in the process, and Lin Fei's physical form disintegrated, transforming into ashes. Yet, Lin Fei himself did not die. As long as a particle remained, Lin Fei's consciousness clung to it, ensuring his survival. These particles continuously exploded and fused, gradually converging into a singular whole. Even the 5,300 particle worlds completely disintegrated and melded together. Now, where Lin Fei had just experienced the explosion, a single particle emerged. Only one particle remained, but it was whole and complete, containing the entirety of his power. With this single particle's appearance, a message echoed within Lin Fei's mind. Your understanding of the world's Tao has reached its pinnacle, your world's Tao progress has reached 100%, achieving perfection. Without hesitation, Lin Fei infused the recently mastered world's Tao into a single particle within his flesh. In that instant, the particle sprang to life, akin to the birth of consciousness within a world. However, this world consciousness was none other than Lin Fei's own. Once a world possessed consciousness, limitless possibilities arose. It could ascend from a small world to a true monarch-level world or even a true immortal-level world if given the opportunity. Yet, this was not the endpoint, for even the divine realm, strictly speaking, was a world, albeit an extraordinary one that surpassed all true immortal-level worlds. Lost in thought, Lin Fei's musings drifted far. He possessed extensive experience in creating worlds. Therefore, when he integrated the world's Tao into the particles, he created a world. With a deafening explosion, Lin Fei's flesh particles erupted, unveiling a colossal world that emerged in all its grandeur. It expanded relentlessly, surpassing the confines of the ancient continent's world's Tao, for this was a genuine world. Chapter 583. Embodiment of the World. In the Eternal Life Alliance, someone suddenly looked up. They beheld a scene in the void that left their face awash with shock. What's happening? Why has the sky darkened? It seems even the light of the stars is being obscured. How terrifying! What on earth is this? An eclipse of sun and moon, what sorcery is this? Could it be the apocalypse? But why would the apocalypse suddenly appear on the ancient continent? It was not only in the Eternal Life Alliance. This phenomenon appeared across many regions of the ancient continent as if the world itself was blocking the void of the ancient continent. On closer inspection, it was indeed a world, a real world. A sound like a sharp swoosh cut through the air. God-level powerhouses acted, attempting to shatter this mysterious world. However, their formidable power could not even make it tremble. Only Feng Ling's gaze held a trace of recognition. This world's aura, it's so familiar. It seems like Lin Fei's aura. Could it be that Lin Fei has made some breakthrough? Feng Ling immediately thought of Lin Fei. This aura was all too familiar. Though it wasn't the saber world, it still contained the essence of Lin Fei. Feng Ling could not be mistaken. Given the breadth of her experience, she harbored a bold conjecture. Could it be that Lin Fei is mastering a complete Tao, thus achieving the status of martial ancestor? The Phoenix was astounded. The title of true monarch had already been enough to amaze. But to become a martial ancestor? That was truly beyond belief. At this moment, many were speculating, yet Lin Fei was in the midst of the ancient continent's great Tao, genuinely transforming into a world. This was a true world, existing within reality. The world was Lin Fei, and Lin Fei was the world. This was entirely different from his earlier creation of a particle world within his physical body. Those particle worlds could not manifest in reality and certainly did not possess the power of a true world. But now, things were different. When Lin Fei created a world, one that merged with the great Tao of worlds, it became a real world, personally crafted by Lin Fei. The next moment, the entire ancient continent trembled. A terrible pressure instantly fell upon Lin Fei, or rather, upon the world of Lin Fei, as if suppressing his world. Lin Fei even faintly felt a sense of a warning. This was a warning from the ancient continent. Lin Fei could create a world, or even transform into a world, but not within the ancient continent. Doing so might disrupt certain laws of the ancient continent, or even damage the very essence of the ancient continent's world. Thus, the ancient continent sought to suppress Lin Fei's world. Converge. With a thought, Lin Fei's form swiftly contracted. His body, a world unto itself, began to diminish. Soon after, Lin Fei's figure reappeared. However, he had been expelled from the Tao world of the ancient continent. Now, standing in the void, he experienced a power unlike any before, a force that seemed capable of shattering the ancient continent itself. Of course, this was merely an illusion. Not even true immortals or martial ancestors could annihilate the ancient continent. Yet, Lin Fei felt as if the ancient continent was no longer formidable. Moreover, Lin Fei could distinctly sense the consciousness of the ancient continent. It is said that worlds possess spirit, but previously, Lin Fei could not perceive it unless under very special circumstances. Now, however, he could. System. Lin Fei immediately summoned the system to check his current state. He vaguely understood his condition, most likely that of a martial ancestor, yet seemingly different from typical martial ancestors. Lin Fei needed to examine this closely. Host, Lin Fei. Martial realm, martial ancestor. World Tao, perfection. World level, minor world, progress 0%. Lin Fei noted his realm. Indeed, he had become a martial ancestor. Yet, becoming a martial ancestor seemed to lack any stages like early, middle, or late phases. Instead, there was a new category, world level. Astonishingly, Lin Fei's world level was only a minor world, with 0 progress, indicating that it was still challenging to advance. Wait, only a minor world. Lin Fei was startled. I am a martial ancestor, so how could the world I've created be merely a minor world? In Lin Fei's understanding, even martial gods or those undergoing deity transformation could disrupt or nearly collapse a minor world. True monarchs entering a minor world could cause it to collapse. How could such a world sustain the power of a martial ancestor like Lin Fei? Or was this minor world not like other minor worlds? However, Lin Fei's current strength was formidable. Every movement he made was imbued with unimaginable power. Lin Fei wasn't sure how strong other martial ancestors or Dao integration true immortals were, but compared to his own past, all his previous skills and strengths combined were far inferior to his current minor world capabilities. Lin Fei estimated that his current strength was 10, perhaps even dozens of times greater than before, a transformation of a qualitative nature. Yet, how could a minor world possess a power 100 times, or even more, greater than that of the top-tier true monarchs? Lin Fei closed his eyes, delving deep into the sensation of the world's force. It turned out that after the Tao of his world had merged into the world within his body and his consciousness had completely replaced that of the world, Lin Fei could mobilize the full power of the entire world. And, in a dire situation, Lin Fei could even detonate his world to forcibly enhance his strength. I can now fully mobilize every fraction of power in this world, Lin Fei mused, contrasting it with those loose minor worlds. In the common minor worlds of the divine realm, it's simply impossible to unleash all their power. He acknowledged that while such worlds could at least release some of their might upon collapsing, they would only ever unleash, at best, a mere 1% of their original strength, often even less. It's not to say that a minor world is always that weak. Lin Fei realized that a minor world, when all its forces were mobilized, could indeed be terrifying. Furthermore, his world within did not yet harbor life. If life were to emerge, then the power of those lives could also serve him. In time, the power of Lin Fei's world would become even stronger. What about the Saber world? Lin Fei pondered about another world he had access to. With a hum, the next moment, he summoned the Saber world with a thought. He still possessed the Saber world, which was a world transformed from the ethereal to the tangible. Yet, it was vastly different from the true world. The Saber world, once comparable to a top-tier true monarch, now seemed somewhat redundant since Lin Fei had ascended to the level of martial ancestor. If only the Saber world could be elevated to the level of a martial ancestor, he thought. Lin Fei shook his head. This was a challenging feat. His Tao of worlds had already integrated into his physical world and could not merge with the Saber world. But wait, there's still the Shen in the Saber world. If the Shen could ascend to the level of a top-tier true monarch, or even that of an ancestor, wouldn't that also elevate the Saber world to the strength of a martial ancestor? Lin Fei's eyes sparkled with possibility. It seemed there was a way to enhance the Saber world after all, though it would require a lengthy period. Lin Fei would slowly explore these possibilities. For now, however, it was time to return. With a swoosh, Lin Fei stepped forward, his figure instantly vanishing as he entered a void passage, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 584. Lin Fei becomes the martial ancestor. In the Eternal Life Alliance, Fen Ling, with the aid of the Phoenix, managed the affairs of the Alliance. Recently, the Alliance had been relatively peaceful. However, some, restless due to Lin Fei's disappearance, had started causing minor disturbances. These were trivial and easily handled by the Alliance's elders, not even necessitating the Phoenix's intervention. Yet, Lin Fei's prolonged absence was becoming a cause for concern. Though Fen Ling appeared calm, inwardly she was anxious for Lin Fei's return, or at least for news of him. Where had Lin Fei gone? Fen Ling was eager to know. At that moment, faint ripples of space appeared in the Grand Hall. Suddenly, a figure burst forth from the void in an instant. Lin Fei. Fen Ling looked up, joy rising in her heart as she recognized the figure. She had been worried during this time, especially since Lin Fei had vanished without leaving any message or word. Although the ancient continent had recently undergone some changes, such as something obscuring the sky and bearing Lin Fei's aura, leading Fen Ling to speculate, it remained just speculation. Without seeing Lin Fei, her worries persisted. Lin Fei, facing Fen Ling, sighed deeply and said, "Fen Ling, you've had a hard time during this period. And the Phoenix Elder, thank you for your efforts in overseeing the Eternal Life Alliance." Yet the Phoenix stared intently at Lin Fei as if seeing something unbelievable. "Lin. True Monarch Lin, your aura seems different. Could it be?" The Phoenix stuttered, overcome with unparalleled shock. As an ancient exotic beast, immortal and eternal, knowing far more than any ordinary martial god or true monarch, it immediately perceived the change. Lin Fei was not the same, he had undergone a complete and thorough transformation. Even standing in the void, his presence seemed subdued. Yet, in the eyes of the Phoenix, the myriad laws around Lin Fei seemed to be forcefully pushed aside by his mere presence. And with every movement Lin Fei made, the void itself bore tremendous pressure, as if carelessness could tear it asunder. This restraint by Lin Fei was intentional. Unrestrained, his sheer presence could stir up void storms wherever he passed. Such power was beyond what any true monarch could achieve, even the strongest among them could not manifest such might. This kind of force, to a martial artist, indicated only one possibility, the martial ancestor. Lin Fei had ascended to become a martial ancestor, possessing terrifying powers that not even a true immortal, who merged with the Tao, could manifest. True immortals might blend with the Tao subtly, without the overt display of fearsome power seen in Lin Fei. Only a martial ancestor, with all his mighty power intrinsic to himself, could possess such formidable might. Martial ancestor. Feng Ling was equally shocked, but her surprise was tinged with amazement. She naturally believed the Phoenix's words, but Lin Fei's ascension to martial ancestor was bewilderingly rapid. Perhaps previously, she did not fully grasp what being a martial ancestor meant. However, as Lin Fei returned from the divine realm, she came to understand the profound significance it held, essentially representing the pinnacle of the divine realm. Moreover, like Tao integration true immortals, martial ancestors were immortal and indestructible, capable of stepping out of the river of time, truly living endlessly. Even more, martial ancestors held an advantage over true immortals. While a Tao integration true immortal could fall if their integrated world was destroyed, a martial ancestor, with all power residing within himself, feared no world's demise. Lin Fei glanced at the stunned Phoenix and the astonished Feng Ling, then nodded affirmatively. Indeed, I have achieved the rank of martial ancestor. The Phoenix's mind went blank, while Feng Ling, despite finding it almost inconceivable, felt overwhelming joy. Truly becoming a martial ancestor is incredible. True monarch Lin, no, Ancestor Lin, you only spent about 2 or 3 years in the divine realm. In less than 3 years, advancing from martial god to true monarch. That's utterly unbelievable. It was no wonder the Phoenix was skeptical. If becoming a martial ancestor was so straightforward, they wouldn't be so rare across the entire divine realm. Lin Fei, is a martial ancestor truly immortal? Does it possess an endless lifespan? Feng Ling finally couldn't help but ask. Lin Fei was somewhat surprised, but after sensing carefully, he realized the truth about his lifespan. Whether as a martial god or a true monarch, one could usually sense their own life expectancy. For example, even a robust true monarch, despite powerful regenerative abilities, would face the erosion of their physical essence when their time limit approached. This irreversible destruction is due to the sheer passage of time, which deactivates the life force, thus leading to the inevitability of death for a true monarch. Maintaining an immortal and indestructible physical form is exceedingly challenging. Lin Fei's knowledge of martial ancestors includes the Great Dream Ancestor, whose true form he has never seen. According to rumors, the Great Dream Ancestor's true form exists between dream and reality, making it a combination of the tangible and the intangible. While the tangible can be destroyed, the intangible cannot. By harnessing the power of dreams, the Great Dream Ancestor achieves immortality, existing eternally. Other martial ancestors, too, have achieved immortality to varying extents through their mastery over their respective Taos. As for Lin Fei, his Tao is the world Tao. His physical body has transformed into a minor world. The particles of any body, no matter how robust, will eventually disintegrate when their time comes. However, Lin Fei's physical particles have become a world unto themselves. Should these particles approach disintegration, the world within Lin Fei can rejuvenate them with a fresh influx of life force, thereby maintaining and even revitalizing his physical form. As long as the inner world exists, Lin Fei's physical particles will not collapse. What if this internal world were to collapse? After all, worlds can come close to destruction, whether they are minor worlds, true monarch-level worlds, or even true immortal-level worlds. However, Lin Fei's inner world differs from a typical minor world or true monarch-level world. A world collapses typically due to the prolonged operation of its laws, excessive life, or rapid conflict. Initially, these may have little impact, but over time, the cumulative effect of broken laws can fundamentally destabilize a world. Once a world's foundation is shaken, collapse is imminent. But Lin Fei is different. He controls the world Tao, and his consciousness merges with that of his inner world. Should any aspect of his inner world falter, Lin Fei can immediately adjust it. Moreover, as long as the world Tao endures, his inner world will not be destroyed. If his world remains, Lin Fei remains immortal. In this sense, Lin Fei truly is immortal and indestructible. In fact, this could be said of all martial ancestors. While others may not control the world Tao, they master other Taos. Lin Fei relies on his inner world for immortality, and other martial ancestors rely on their respective Taos to achieve the same state of undying existence. Chapter 585. Lin Fei's World, the Eternal Realm. Feng Ling, my current state, Lin Fei began slowly, is pretty much immortal now. He was speaking of his condition under normal circumstances, truly immortal and indestructible, a hallmark of martial ancestors and true immortals. Feng Ling's expression shifted, and she fell silent. Lin Fei's immortality meant he had completely stepped out of the river of time, no longer needing to worry about lifespan or the relentless pursuit of cultivation. However, this was not entirely good news for Feng Ling. She would die. As a mere martial god with a difficult journey to her title, she possessed only 100,000 years of life, a mere drop in the ocean of Lin Fei's endless time. Even attaining true monarch status would grant her only 1,000,000 years. She couldn't accompany Lin Fei forever. Lin Fei seemed to guess Feng Ling's concerns and approached her, taking her hand solemnly. "Feng Ling, you still have plenty of time," he assured her. "Besides, now that I am a martial ancestor, I will find ways to extend your life as much as possible." "Even if you can't become a martial ancestor," he continued, "perhaps you don't need to be one to stay by my side." "What do you mean I might not need to become a martial ancestor?" Feng Ling widened her eyes. Even with her high ambitions and exceptional talents, she knew becoming a martial ancestor was nearly impossible for her. Even achieving martial god status was difficult, let alone martial ancestor. How could Lin Fei make her immortal? Even the Phoenix was puzzled and intrigued. What could Lin Fei possibly do? Lin Fei smiled slightly. The next moment, he transformed into a world, a small sphere of a world, yet it enveloped both Feng Ling and the Phoenix. "What is this place?" Feng Ling asked, bewildered. "It seems completely isolated from the outside world. Are we no longer in the ancient continent?" Both Feng Ling and the Phoenix were astounded. The Phoenix especially could not sense the ancient continent at all. They were completely cut off, without the slightest connection. "This world," Lin Fei explained with a slight smile, "is my world. I am the world, and the world is me. In my world, it's difficult for anyone to die. I have an idea now. Once my world begins to spawn life and gradually develops, should the end of your lifespan, Feng Ling, approach, I will transfer your consciousness into my world. I can help you reconstruct your body, and, within my world, I can keep your consciousness alert and your body from fading. This way, as long as I am alive, you too will effectively be immortal. The only downside might be that you will have to stay in my world forever, unable to leave." Lin Fei's words brightened Feng Ling's eyes. Indeed, this was a solution. This was Lin Fei's world, and Lin Fei was its true master. As long as Lin Fei lived, Feng Ling would not die. What did it matter if she could never leave this world? A world was vast enough. As long as she could live there with Lin Fei and her family, what was there to fear about being unable to leave? The Phoenix too was amazed. Being an ancient exotic beast with vast knowledge, it deeply understood the terrifying aspects of Lin Fei's world. What Lin Fei held was not merely his own immortality. He could also grant it to others. Anyone willing to follow Lin Fei could enter his world and become immortal. Wouldn't that make this world eternal? If others came to know of this, the frenzy it would incite would be unparalleled. After all, most beings do not wish to die. Deity transformation beings, martial gods, true monarchs, who among them would choose death? But when their time inevitably came, they had no recourse but to perish unwillingly. However, if there was a way, a possibility to avoid that fate, who would not seize it? If there was a place that could prevent their demise, even if it meant they could never leave, it would drive many to madness. "Ancestor," the Phoenix exclaimed excitedly, bowing respectfully to Lin Fei. "If your world can truly do what you say, grant others immortality, wouldn't it truly be an eternal realm?" This would stir a massive uproar across the entire divine realm. Those martial gods, deity transformation beings, and true monarchs, as their end nears, would likely go to any lengths to beg you to allow them into your world to preserve their lives. Lin Fei pondered for a moment. Eternal Realm, he mused. That's a good name. My world indeed lacks a name. Let's call it the Eternal Realm then. Phoenix, you're right. Once the secrets of the Eternal Realm are known, countless beings will indeed go mad for it. But what of it? Beneath the martial ancestors, all are but ants. No one can coerce me. To enter the Eternal Realm is not so simple. Lin Fei spoke calmly, asserting the sovereignty and sanctity of his dominion. In a moment of profound inspiration, Lin Fei's mind was flooded with possibilities for his Eternal Realm. The realm had immense potential, especially once life began to manifest within it. Lin Fei was considering not only how to bring forth life but also how to guide the development of this inner world. Furthermore, Lin Fei harbored a bold idea. His world might start as a small realm, but what if it could be expanded? If the Eternal Realm could grow to the size of a true monarch level or even a true immortal level world, wouldn't it essentially become like the ancient continent? And beyond even that, what if it could evolve into something akin to the divine realm itself? If his world ascended to such a level, then in a way, beings like Feng Ling would truly become immortal without feeling constrained by the size of their world. Lin Fei was exhilarated by these thoughts. It was the Phoenix's reminder that had opened his mind to the vast potential and terrifying power of his Eternal Realm. His path of cultivation seemed all the more clear thanks to these insights. Good, Phoenix, your reminder is very valuable, Lin Fei said appreciatively. Then, shifting the conversation, he asked, Phoenix, who exactly have you offended? Maybe I can ensure your safety, perhaps even secure your passage to the divine realm. This was not merely a gesture of gratitude, it was a promise from a martial ancestor. Lin Fei was not indebted to the Phoenix merely for past favors, which were settled when he helped the Phoenix escape a predicament. The Phoenix had recently helped manage the Eternal Life Alliance and provided valuable assistance to Feng Ling. But more importantly, its mention of the Eternal Realm sparked a significant revelation for Lin Fei, revealing the path forward in his cultivation. These merits warranted Lin Fei's solemn promise, even if it meant confronting a true immortal. Really, the Phoenix asked, visibly moved. I am deeply grateful, Ancestor. But the true immortal I've offended is not ordinary, he has existed since the ancient era. The Phoenix steeled itself, gathering the courage to disclose the name of this formidable true immortal. Such a promise from a martial ancestor was rare, and it knew it must seize this rare opportunity, for such a chance might never come again. Chapter 586. Phoenix freed, Taihao notices. Leader, the name of that Tao integration true immortal is Taihao, a venerable true immortal from the ancient era, known throughout the ancient continent for his formidable presence, the Phoenix recounted. There was a time when the ancient continent entered the divine realm, leading to a great war. It was under the leadership of Taihao and other top martial ancestors and true immortals that the people of the ancient continent were able to overcome the difficulties and even stabilize their footing within the divine realm. Taihao wanted the Phoenix clan to serve him. Unfortunately, I chose to follow another martial ancestor instead. During that war, the martial ancestor I chose fell in battle. The aftermath, as you know, leader, left me in a precarious situation. Taihao found it inconvenient to kill me, considering I too fought for the ancient continent and contributed significantly, if not with glory then with hard labor. Thus, Taihao suppressed me within a true monarch-level world, where I remained until now. If not for you, leader, I would likely still be trapped there. The Phoenix laid out the entire sequence of events candidly. So that's how it is, Lin Fei murmured, his gaze shimmering with sharpness. Taihao, I've heard of him. He is one of the most ancient Tao integration true immortals in the entire ancient covenant. While perhaps not the strongest, his power is certainly formidable. The Phoenix had offended such a storied and powerful Tao integration true immortal, and it was fortunate indeed that it had not been killed. Although Phoenixes are famed for their immortality and ability to regenerate from ashes, relative terms apply. A martial ancestor or a Tao integration true immortal could effortlessly extinguish a Phoenix permanently if they so wished. Phoenix, you need not worry too much about Taihao, Lin Fei reassured. Whatever your past mistakes, since Taihao has already suppressed you for so many years, that should suffice. If you wish to go to the divine realm, you can return with me. Thank you, leader, but I prefer to stay in the ancient continent. I just hope to live without having to hide or fear the dawn, no longer needing to evade Taiha. The phoenix expressed its simple wish. It wasn't necessarily eager to go to the divine realm, it merely desired to resolve its grudge against Taiha once and for all. Being the target of a Dao integration true immortal was no small matter, after all. Lin Fei nodded in understanding, then turned to Fenling. Fenling, what about you? Would you like to come with me to the divine realm? He asked. Feng Ling, now confirmed to be a martial god, certainly qualified to enter the divine realm. However, after some thought, she shook her head and said, I'm aware of my limitations. Reaching martial god is already my limit, transcending further to become a true monarch is simply out of the question. Besides, a martial god can live for 100,000 years. That time is enough. After 100,000 years, even if my time comes, I can enter your world. All I hope for is that you, Lin Fei, can return to the ancient continent when you have the time. That would be enough for me. Feng Ling no longer wished to venture into the divine realm. Moreover, she had come to a profound understanding. Striving to match Lin Fei's pace proved excessively arduous, bordering on the impossible. No matter how fervently she pursued him, it was all in vain. Ascending to true monarch was fraught with difficulty. Given these circumstances, why should she exert herself to such extremes? In the ancient continent, assisting Lin Fei in safeguarding the Eternal Life Alliance was sufficient. After all, being a martial god herself, and coupled with the Phoenix, a venerable true monarch, she was more than capable of overseeing the Eternal Life Alliance, ensuring its smooth operation. It was akin to Lin Fei entrusting her to keep the hone. This allowed Lin Fei to pursue his endeavors without any concerns. The ancient continent was, indeed, Lin Fei's home. Lin Fei nodded and said, that is well, the Eternal Life Alliance is our foundation. Your presence there ensures it is well maintained. Moreover, I can return to the ancient continent at any time, whether from the divine realm or here. It is all the same to me. Thus, Lin Fei ceased his insistence and continued his stay at the Eternal Life Alliance. Spending time with Phoenix was no significant sacrifice, especially now that Lin Fei had achieved the venerable status of martial ancestor, immortal and indestructible. There was no longer any need to engage in frantic cultivation. In the ancient covenant, within the grand and ancient halls of Taiha Palace, built by one of the original true immortals, Taiha himself, Taiha Palace stood unobtrusively, never a major power nor seeking to expand its influence, thus remaining obscure to many. Suddenly, the solemn chimes of a bell echoed within the walls of Taiha Palace. Numerous streaks of radiant light swiftly entered the grand hall, where a majestic and imposing figure was seated. It was none other than Taiha True Immortal himself, albeit an avatar. Yet even as an avatar, he possessed the full authority of a true immortal, before whom all lesser beings were as ants, and even the mightiest true monarchs had no power to resist. Greetings, Your Majesty, they exclaimed. What commands do you have for us, Your Majesty? Asked the assembly of true monarchs, their curiosity piqued. It was unprecedented for Taiha True Immortal to summon them personally. The countenance of Taiha was solemn, his face indistinct. His voice, ethereal as if descending from the high heavens, reached everyone's ears. I have recently awakened from a long slumber. Upon contemplation, it appears that a phoenix, once suppressed by me on the ancient continent, has escaped its bonds. Though I am unaware of how it freed itself, that is of no consequence. Circumstances at the time compelled me to suppress rather than annihilate it. Yet, if it had remained subdued, it might still live. However, it has fled. Therefore, it cannot be allowed to remain free. Who among you dares to strike down the phoenix? His words, crisp and clear, filled the hall, leaving many true monarch-level powers exchanging glances, their expressions a mix of astonishment and intrigue. The Phoenix. The ancient era Phoenix. That Phoenix was a true monarch even in ancient times, famed for being immortal and capable of rebirth from its own ashes. To slay the Phoenix is a formidable challenge. However, if His Majesty has decreed it, there must surely be a way. At this, one figure boldly stepped forward and declared, Your Majesty, I am willing to go. Very well, Golden Crow, you shall carry a decree from me to the ancient continent. Upon encountering the Phoenix, you need only use the decree to suppress it. This decree will not only suppress the Phoenix but will also refine it utterly, preventing its rebirth from the flames. With a gentle wave of his hand, Taiha sent a flicker of golden light flying forth. It landed in Golden Crow Daost's hand, transforming into a decree. Golden Crow Daost's heart swelled with joy. He carefully secured the decree and respectfully responded, "I will faithfully execute your Majesty's command." Then, Golden Crow Daost exited Taiha Palace. With a whoosh, he transformed into a streak of light and vanished without a trace. "Very well, you may all disperse." "Yes, Your Majesty." Many true monarch-level powers within the Grand Hall of Taiha Palace withdrew. They harbored no worries. What of the Phoenix being a true monarch from the ancient era? Golden Crow Daost held a decree from Taiha. The Phoenix was doomed. True immortals' words manifest as law. A single decree often signifies the descent of a true immortal. Often, no incarnation is even necessary. A single decree can suppress any true monarch. Such is the majesty of a true immortal. Beneath the true immortal, all are but ants. They need only await news from Golden Crow Daost. Chapter 587. Golden Crow Daost descends to the ancient continent. With a resonant hum, Golden Crow Daost stepped forth from the spatial channel, arriving just outside the Jewel Realm gateway. The true monarchs guarding the ancient covenant's passageway all fixed their eyes upon him. Golden Crow Daost, "Are you headed to the ancient continent?" asked a guard respectfully. Golden Crow Daost was a figure of formidable renown, a top-tier true monarch, and, crucially, a trusted confidant of Taiha True Immortal. They dared not treat him lightly. Golden Crow Daost's gaze was icy as he replied indifferently, "This true monarch bears an imperial decree from His Majesty to undertake a task on the ancient continent. Make way immediately and refer any matters to the Taiha Palace." Upon revealing Taiha's decree, the intense aura of solemnity it exuded made every true monarch retract their gaze. Such was the power of a true immortal's decree, capable of felling even the mightiest among them with its overwhelming aura of authority. They understood that Taiha True Immortal intended to take a life, and they would not hinder Golden Crow Daost. To do so would be to invite the decree's wrath upon themselves, a fate equivalent to a meaningless death. "Since it is Taiha's decree, naturally, we dare not obstruct," they conceded. "Please, proceed to the ancient continent." The guards promptly cleared the path. Golden Crow Daost, without a word of thanks, transformed into a streak of light and darted into the ancient continent. The guards exchanged looks, their expressions grave. Golden Crow Daost holds a true immortal's decree. Who is he set to kill in the ancient continent? They murmured among themselves. What has transpired on the ancient continent to warrant such a mobilization by Taiha True Immortal? Remember, the ancient continent currently harbors a top-tier true monarch. Are you referring to Lin Fei of the Great Dream Sect? Could it be that Golden Crow Daost is tasked with slaying Lin Fei? Hush, speak no further. This is the will of a true immortal, beyond our interference. Lin Fei has the support of the Great Dream Sect's venerable ancestor, a true immortal and a martial ancestor. Regardless, this matter is not ours to meddle in. Perhaps Golden Crow Daost's mission does not target Lin Fei. It could merely be a coincidence. Those who could guard the Jewel Realm passageway were at least martial gods. Golden Crow Daost, bearing a true immortal's decree and hastening to the ancient continent for a killing, surely could not be unconnected to Lin Fei. However unlikely, they could not believe otherwise. Besides Lin Fei, who else could provoke the ire of a distinguished true immortal? Yet, regarding this matter, they could only intervene silently, praying it would not escalate too severely. If a true immortal were to clash with a martial ancestor, it would be profoundly detrimental for the entire ancient covenant. Meanwhile, Golden Crow Daost successfully entered the ancient continent. "Is this the ancient continent?" the Golden Crow Taoist asked, standing amid the void. Although he was a trusted confidant of Taiha, the Golden Crow Taoist had never before visited the ancient continent. Indeed, he was originally an exotic beast, subdued and transformed by the Taiha Palace into the being now known as the Golden Crow Taoist. He had only heard of the myriad secrets of the ancient continent, aware of the ancient war that had once raged there and suspected that it might conceal further mysteries. Yet, he had never stepped foot upon it. This was his first time. "The laws of the ancient continent are indeed mighty, surpassing any other realm of the true monarchs," he remarked. "It is truly a world of celestial beings. However, the urgent matter at hand is to find the Phoenix." Only by slaying the Phoenix can I fulfill the Supreme Celestial's mission. The Golden Crow Taoist was well aware of his purpose. To slay the Phoenix, he first needed to ascertain its whereabouts and learn of its exploits. Thus, he captured several cultivators, including those of the Golden Core and Martial Sovereign levels, to interrogate them. "Tell me, do you know of Phoenix?" the Golden Crow Taoist demanded in a deep voice. "Phoenix," one queried. "Are you seeking the Phoenix Elder of the Eternal Life Alliance?" "The Eternal Life Alliance has a Phoenix." "Yes, the Elder of the Eternal Life Alliance is indeed a Phoenix, and its power is tremendously formidable." A glint sparked in the Golden Crow Taoist's eyes. Unexpectedly, after escaping its bonds, the Phoenix had not hidden but instead had become quite conspicuous. This was surely a path towards its own demise. If the Phoenix had remained hidden, the Golden Crow Taoist might have spent much time in search. However, now that the Phoenix was so overtly present within the Eternal Life Alliance, locating it would be far easier. What exactly is the Eternal Life Alliance? And why would the Phoenix choose to become an elder there? The Golden Crow Taoist mused, curious. The magnificent Phoenix, a true monarch since ancient times, had been suppressed for years but could still be reborn from its ashes, its strength scarcely diminished. Yet, it willingly served as an elder of the Eternal Life Alliance, suggesting that this alliance was no ordinary power. "Indeed, the Eternal Life Alliance is not simple," continued the Martial Sovereign. "It was founded by the great true monarch Lin Fei, who, it is said, returned to the ancient continent from the divine realm with terrifying strength. Even the Phoenix was subdued by true monarch Lin and willingly became an elder of the Eternal Life Alliance, assisting Lin Fei in managing its affairs. Moreover, the Eternal Life Alliance has now unified the ancient continent and stands as a supreme power. These matters, Elder, you would know with just a little inquiry," he added. The Golden Crow Taoist was astonished. "True monarch Lin Fei," he echoed, surprised. "And he returned from the divine realm to the ancient continent." Undoubtedly, the Golden Crow Taoist was aware of Lin Fei's identity as well, the premier martial god of the Great Dream sect, now heralded as the mightiest true monarch. He had become a legend throughout the ancient covenant. There was no one who did not know of Lin Fei. Even the reclusive Golden Crow Taoist was familiar with his great name, a testament to the extent of Lin Fei's fame. Under a great name, there lies no false reputation. The Golden Crow Taoist knew that Lin Fei's strength might be formidable. But now, with Lin Fei having established the Eternal Life Alliance and linked it with the Phoenix, the Taoist did not believe there weren't secrets involved. The Phoenix was suppressed by His Majesty, he mused. It remained trapped for many years, yet curiously, it was freed shortly after Lin Fei's return to the ancient continent. There must be a connection with Lin Fei. But even if it is Lin Fei, so what? If he dares to hinder my mission, I hold the imperial decree from the Supreme Celestial. All who obstruct me shall be slain without mercy. A sharp gleam flashed in the Golden Crow Taoist's eyes. No matter how strong Lin Fei might be, as long as one is a true monarch, the decree of the Supreme Celestial can certainly execute them. Thus, the Golden Crow Taoist harbored no fear of complications. I hope Lin Fei recognizes the situation. Otherwise, once the decree is issued, there will be no room for negotiation. With a wave of his hand, the Golden Crow Taoist released the cultivators. Essentially, he had learned nearly everything he needed to know. Even the whereabouts of the Phoenix were consistently reported by all. It was at the headquarters of the Eternal Life Alliance. Therefore, the Golden Crow Taoist hesitated no longer. With a swish, he stepped forth, his figure vanishing into a spatial tunnel, hurtling towards the headquarters of the Eternal Life Alliance. Upon arriving, the Golden Crow Taoist emerged with a hum. In the next moment, a sweep of his divine sense immediately located the Phoenix. At the same time, inside the Grand Hall of the Eternal Life Alliance, the Phoenix seemed to sense something, abruptly lifting its head to stare intently at the void outside. This aura, the true monarch. The expression of the Phoenix instantly turned grave.